Paycor Stadium is 23 years old. The stadium lease is up later this decade in 2026. Could a new stadium, the house that Joe Burrow built, actually be built? Plenty of thoughts on that and more right here on CBT. Hi again, everyone, and welcome into Cincinnati Bengals Talk. I'm James Rapien of allbengals.com, and make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and buckle up because it's going to be a fun offseason. We are going to get into so much draft stuff. 2 weeks away from the 2023 NFL Draft, and we will be at Paycor Stadium covering every single minute of it, whether they trade up, whether they trade down, whether they move all around. Right now, they're scheduled to have 7 picks, and we're going to be there for all 7 of them. And over the next few weeks, you're going to hear from Duke Tobin, Zach Taylor, and so many more on this channel. But I mentioned the draft will be at Paycor Stadium. Paycor Stadium needs renovating. I think you, me, everybody else agrees with that. And WCPO wrote about this earlier this week in Cincinnati, and it's quite interesting because the county and the Bengals hired an outside firm, Gensler Sports, to review everything and assess that Paycor Stadium with the stadium lease coming due in 2026. And they estimated that basic repairs to Paycor could cost more than $493 million, including things like rails, ramps, basic stuff that you really don't think about. And the number doesn't include a potential $200 million more for future upgrades like lounges, high-end food and drink, new signs, scoreboards, etc. It's interesting because not only was that mentioned, which makes sense, right? If you could renovate the current place, they're at a perfect spot downtown. It makes a ton of sense. Everything around it, you got the concert venue down there, and you have Great American Ballpark, and you have the banks, and it makes a ton of sense. Downtown has come together so much compared to where it was when that stadium opened 23 years ago. That said, how much are you willing to put in that stadium versus build a brand new one? And that's something that the county has at least discussed or is open to, and we'll see what happens. But the hope, according to the county, is for the stadium to be, quote, a vibrant of the community and not just an island used on game day. And that's using words that or quoting exactly what some of the Hamilton County representatives said. That said, looking at it, and they haven't ruled out a new stadium. A new stadium's $2 billion. And I know some have talked about this and said, oh, well, does that mean they move it out of downtown? It should stay downtown. And the thing is there's going to be everyone, and let's get down to what this comes down to. Everyone outside of Hamilton County is going to say, boom, let's go. Let's go. Let's get it done. It makes sense. And then people inside Hamilton County are going to say, we're paying for another stadium. And that's the part of it, is of course the county is going to be asked for part of this. So there's a couple of things here. One, I always thought 23 years ago, and it was ugly. The negotiations were ugly, and it was more than 23 years ago. It was around 95. So you're talking nearly 3 decades ago. The Bengals, the county, back and forth. It was this really big public thing, this debate, this going back and forth. The Bengals were literally playing the worst football they've ever played in franchise history. Jeff Blake gave them a little bit of hope right when they were doing these negotiations. But that was the part of it that made it tough, is they were struggling, and it was hard to ask for, a lot of money from the county without people saying, well, wait a minute. They were able to do it. They were able to get a deal done that was certainly leaned towards the Bengals. And just looking at that stadium, I think you could tell it was dated pretty quickly. And so now, do you update that, or do you start fresh? If so, how do you start fresh? Do you start fresh with a new stadium downtown? Do you try to move it to the suburbs, which I don't love the idea of? All of those things will be tossed around. I have some interesting ideas. I don't want to go too far down this road because it might be as simple as just renovating what they have. Katie Blackburn has talked about it and saying, hey, we like our stadium. I think we can renovate what we have. It's a good stadium, and we're starting to upgrade some things on our own to show that we're invested in it as well. But if you're the Bengals, the time is now. I will say that much, because you think Jeff Blake got people excited. Well, Joe Burrow has gotten people excited and taken this franchise to heights that they've never been to? Do the Bengals say, you know what, we should probably just go for a brand new one? I don't know. Does the county do that because it makes them or allows them to use it for more functions around the clock? Do they go for that dome that people have talked about to try to get a Super Bowl and all of those things? There's a lot of things going into this. And I think it's quite interesting. And I wanted to talk about it some because we talk so much about the football end of it, but this is a very real business aspect that is going to be discussed a lot. We will cover it. We will discuss it and talk about it here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. And one thing's for sure, having Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, these guys, that helps it. And so if you're the Bengals, it helps get something done, get something passed. That's why you want to keep those guys. That's why you want to go all in on winning. And they've obviously done that to my extent. I mean, who had them signing Orlando Brown Jr.? So they have to continue that and continue to push, because if they're pushing, they can say, hey, well, we've built a winner and we're doing everything we can to win year in and year out. That's not something they could say nearly 30 years ago. That is something they can say when this round of negotiations starts, continues, and hopefully gets done and gets done in a way that is good for everyone, because I live in Hamilton County and I know a lot of you do, a lot of our viewers here on CBT. And I want a stadium that everyone can go to and play at. And, and by the way, when I say play at, high school games, maybe you could do, if you make it a dome, you can do a lot there. Final Four, there's a lot of ways to do it. So if you're going new, you got to do it right. If you're going renovation, that's fine too, but you got to do that right. So we'll see what they do. It's going to be quite interesting, but I wanted to spend some time on that. So for Andrew Fox Miller, our channel coordinator, I'm James Rapien. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and buckle up, because we have a ton of draft coverage coming your way in the coming days, and we will dive into all things draft. I'm going to get with Joe Goodberry, with Mike Santagata. We're going to do a lot of different draft stuff here at CBT. So buckle up and get ready, because it is about to get real. Draft season is here, and the NFL draft is almost here. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'm James Rapien, and I appreciate you tuning in to CBT.